I am not a robot. I am not a robot. But I am Susan Danish, and I'm regularly, in my day job, the CEO of the Association of Junior Leagues International. We're a 118-year-old organization of 140,000 women. We're in 291 communities in 4 countries, Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, and the United States. We're a women's leadership organization. We empower women to be civic leaders who create community impact. But for right now, I'm your guide to the wonderful world of artificial intelligence. And I'm going to do so freely admitting that I am not a technology expert. In fact, I'm really not an early adopter. I did not rush out to the store to buy an Amazon Echo. And I almost never use Siri. But in fact, only 17% of people with iPhones do. So I guess I'm with most people there. And yet, like most people, I realize that technology is really driving everything these days. So even though I'm just a garden variety nonprofit employee, it's really important that I know what's going on. And so I'm really interested in what's going on in artificial intelligence. And I'm approaching this conversation with you as an ordinary person, again, and not a high-tech person. So if you know a lot about AI and you are a real technology guru, then this is not the session for you. But if you're someone who just really wants to get up to speed with what's been going on, then I hope that this will be helpful. I have a number of learning objectives for today. Hopefully, we're going to talk about what artificial intelligence really is, how nonprofits are using AI today, and I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about how you can get started if you're interested in applying AI to your own nonprofit. What do you think of when you think about artificial intelligence? Amazing images come to my mind. I think about C-3PO from Star Wars, or going back farther, Rosie the Robot Maid from the Jetsons. Or, since we're in the world of today, I think about Black Mirror, the Netflix series, or the HBO series Westworld. AI became an actual thing for me way back in 2011 when Watson, which is the artificial intelligence suite of technology from IBM, actually beat 2 human champions at Jeopardy. But what exactly is AI? It's one of the least understood technologies because you can't see it and you can't touch it. But most of us are probably relying on AI, or, as my director of IT says, pseudo-AI, in our everyday lives, and we don't even think about it anymore. So, if you do reach out to Siri or Alexa, if you love the idea of a self-driving car, if, like me, you get correspondence from Netflix every single day with top suggestions just for me, if you use Pandora, you're having a musical experience that continues to evolve based on your evolving musical preferences. And maybe you have a Nest learning thermostat in your house. This thermostat figures out what temperatures you like, and then it adjusts based on your needs and preferences. These are all very smart artificial intelligence. There are a lot of definitions about artificial intelligence. This is one that I particularly like, and it's from Microsoft. AI is technology that can perceive, learn, and reason to enhance the capabilities of people and their organizations. Now, let me just say there are a zillion, and I do mean a zillion, definitions of artificial intelligence. But I like this one. It's not particularly high tech, but there are a lot more technical definitions, to be sure. It's been so interesting to see what a hot topic artificial intelligence has become in the nonprofit sector. So much is being written about it, especially in the last 2 years, article after article. And so it makes me really interested in how I can apply this to me. Now, if your organization is anything like mine, I know that you use technology and you're using it more and more all the time. We've moved all our data to the cloud. And we use all kinds of simpler technology to do really routine things at work, whether it's our online expense reports or our online performance appraisals. We have a learning management system that goes with our online women's leadership curriculum, and we're building a member journey that will help our junior league members from the beginning of their membership to the very end of their membership really plot their women's leadership development course. And it will provide them with information before they even know that they want it. The nonprofit sector is way behind the for-profit sector in using artificial intelligence. But it makes perfect sense that we're starting to look at it more now. And now is really the right time. There's a reason that all of this interest has come out about AI now. And there's really 3 reasons. First, more data. We have more data than we've ever had before. I don't know about you, but I have so much data in my organization, and data that I don't have time to look at, nor does anybody else in my organization. And AI works on data. It needs a lot of data to do its job. So having more data is a great thing. The other thing that makes AI a hot topic is cloud capacity. With data in the cloud holds so much more data than any PC ever could, and it processes that data a lot faster. So more and faster is really key to artificial intelligence. And then finally, there are better algorithms, step-by-step processes that really empower artificial intelligence. And those are actually created most often by people. And so it's really interesting that now there are algorithms that can recognize all kinds of communication, whether it's text, voice, video, or images. And all of that are some of the things that just really make AI a possible topic for us and a hot topic now. There are so many ways that AI is possibly useful to the nonprofit sector. And so today I'm going to really just talk about 3 of them. Fund development, operating efficiencies, and greater impact and mission delivery. I am so fascinated by what's happening in fund development. AI enables us to get better donor information, and because of that better information, it provides a donor with a better experience, a more personalized experience that will lead to better donor retention and also to higher giving rates. And ultimately, it provides greater development team effectiveness. Better donor information. AI enables us to really provide a whole picture, like a 360-degree picture of our donors. It can capture and work with not only our own donor information, but also external information like social media information or even U.S. Census data. So it creates, again, a much bigger picture of a donor. And having that information, it can predict issues or services or programs that will really spark donor passion. And that will, again, encourage them to stay with you and to give more money. And it can actually help predict giving levels, how much somebody might give, and actually the time of year that that person is most likely to give. Those are all very helpful things. again, it provides a better donor experience. I know if you're anything like me, I have so much information. I have so much information on my website. I have so much information in social media. And so with AI, you can select what articles, what information is going to be most important and most meaningful to that donor. And they can be sent to that donor without any human interaction. And it can really it can create a complete donor journey for you. So I think that's fabulous. And if your organization, again, is anything like mine, you get donations that are sometimes as little as $10, and then donations that really are multiple thousands of dollars. It's really hard to create a personal experience for someone who's a $10 donor. But with AI, you actually can. Again, you can create more customized communication to that low-level donor and have a much higher probability of creating with them a more personal experience that will hopefully enable some of them, or maybe a lot of them, to become more major and long-term donors. You can use chatbots, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit later, to really help simplify online interactions with potential donors. If somebody wants to know if you're a 501c3, if they want to know when your next fundraising gala is, or they want to know where your 990 or your annual report are, chatbots can help with those simple questions and answer them in very user-friendly ways. And of course, along with our donor information, we have a lot more information about our organizations and what they are actually accomplishing. And through AI, we can create better data about what our organizations are actually doing. And that better data will provide better information for our donors to create greater transparency and give a more complete picture of our impact. And we know that transparency and impact are so important to donors today. And then finally, this leads to greater development team effectiveness. Your development team will spend less time on routine tasks. Now, some people say, well, does that mean that lots of jobs are going to be lost? And there certainly will, over the course of time, be jobs that do go away, jobs that are completely mundane and routine. But what they will do, what all of this will do, is enable your organization, your development people to focus on building relationships, not sifting through data. They'll have the ability to cultivate more people, not less. And so my hypothesis is that when you're cultivating more people, you are actually going to need more people to cultivate the people, because AI cannot go out and meet one-on-one with potential donors. So initially, it's like adding staff without adding staff, but I do believe additional staff will be the ultimate outcome if all of this works well. Here's an example of how AI has worked with fund development. This is the Cure Alzheimer's Fund, and Cure Alzheimer's worked with a firm called Gravity. And Gravity is a firm that provides predictive information about how much donors can give. And so working with the information, the donor information from Cure Alzheimer's, in the first year of working with Gravity, they increased their donations by 49%. That's over $2 million. So that's pretty great, and that's pretty effective. And Gravity also has some really interesting additional capabilities. Not only can they really predict what somebody's most likely to give, but they can also draft automatic emails and personalized emails to potential donors, which again takes some of that first draft work out of the responsibilities of some of your development people. I think it's really quite remarkable. The Chronicle of Philanthropy rated Gravity as the first of 15 new fundraising resources that work in 2017. So I think that speaks well for everything that they're doing. Another fund development opportunity is this partnership between Arkansas Educational Television Network and a platform called Exact Ask. Exact Ask, again, is a model that creates predictive information about how much a potential donor can give. Not just, well, the donor gave this much last year, so they'll give this that much the next year, but they'll create a range, and they create 3 different possible donation levels from a donor. And that information is sent to that donor, and so the donor actually has a choice. Coming out of that, in the first year that they used this, they received between $5 and $10 more per donor that received the personalized letter than for donors that just received the standard letter saying that this is what you gave in the past. So again, this is effective, and it's effective with lots of low-level donors as well. The Chronicle ran an excellent article in March about what the future might hold for AI and fundraising, and if you're not familiar with it, it's a really great place to get additional information. And now let's move on to AI and operations and how AI can really help what you do every single day. You can see how in fundraising it certainly helps streamline things, but what about in some other areas? So in terms of internal operations, AI can be used to write reports, to create research, to use spreadsheets. In external operations, you can use chatbots, which are software that produces intelligent, automated responses to common questions in order to hold a conversation. And they're usually very conversational, very friendly. And so that information can be used as a first-line contact with the organization. They can answer questions that people sometimes don't seem to want to go to the FAQs on your website for. They can do intake for new clients. They can register new members. They can schedule meetings, and they can even order lunch. Here's an example of a really interesting application, Zoom AI, and how it can streamline work for employees. What if every single one of your employees had an automated assistant? How amazing is that? Zoom AI tells us that employees generally only spend about 39% of their work time on their job-specific responsibilities. Imagine if you gained a number of hours over the course of the week because of this automated assistant that got things organized for the employee. I think this is kind of amazing. And in terms of streamlining workflow, one of the great things about AI is, and I said this earlier, is that it can really analyze large amounts of data very quickly. And I have a great example of how AI does that using visual data. iNaturalist.org is an organization, it's a collaboration of people across the planet that really are interested in biodiversity. And members of this particular community will travel around and they'll take pictures of flowers, of plants, of animals, of insects, and upload them into iNaturalist. And iNaturalist works to categorize these in terms of their species. The amount of information that they get is staggering. And through AI, they quickly analyze and categorize what comes in. And they believe that it would literally take decades to do the same kind of thing if they were trying to manually go through all of the visuals that they receive. So again, it enables them to do something that they really almost couldn't do before. And human resources is another area where AI and operations really intersect. And I know that there's another session that really goes into detail about AI and human resources. So I'm not going to go into really great detail here. But there are AI applications that can help you advertise, screen, and hire more intelligently. AI can provide for more objective screening without human bias. A lot of this conference is about equity, and so making job applications really equitable is a really important thing. And AI can do that because it removes the human bias in reviewing applications. You can use AI applications to onboard people, to answer new hire questions. And you can also use AI to really encourage engagement and help create an exciting and friendly company culture. Here's an example of AI and hiring, and I love this. Textio is an organization that creates augmented job descriptions. So if you think your job descriptions may not be as good as you'd like them to be, they will put them together for you, and they use thousands and thousands and thousands of job descriptions in their database to create the optimal one for you. One organization that worked with them says that after using these job descriptions, they got 25% more qualified applications the first time out than they have ever gotten before. So that's one way that HR and hiring really intersect. And again, not all of AI, not all of this kind of technology has to be totally serious. This is an example of a birthday bot. Now, I have no memory for employee birthdays or anniversaries, and I freely admit it. So in my organization, at our front desk, we have a little sign, and it tells everybody as they walk in who's having a birthday or an organizational anniversary in that month. But imagine if a bot automatically reached out and said, "Happy birthday, Jim," and it has live action in it, and people can chime in. This is much friendlier, so I really like applications like this. And again, not everything has to be serious and heavy. And now finally, my last topic, AI and impact. Artificial intelligence has made it possible to establish new nonprofits because it allows for better and new solutions. But AI can also be used by iconic nonprofits to innovate better solutions. It can create new solutions and services that you didn't even know you had because it's looking at your data and it's looking for patterns that you might not have perceived. And it can really help bring a mission to life. Here's a great example of a new-ish nonprofit, and certainly a new use, the Crisis Text Line. This organization actually grew out of DoSomething.org. Members of DoSomething.org began texting the CEO, asking for personal advice, and so she decided she would start this crisis text line. Within 4 months, the text line was running in all 295 area codes in the United States. And so 2 years later, it became its own nonprofit and continues to be the first text-based hotline in this country. Very exciting. The AI that it uses really analyzes the messages that come in and really works to really figure out which are the true crisis communications and which need to be turned over to a human counselor immediately. And so it does that. And on other issues, it can work in a more interactive way, answering questions, providing references, and so forth. So this use of AI is really a pioneer in mission-driven, human-centered artificial intelligence. Here's an example of a certainly iconic nonprofit, the American Red Cross, and its use of artificial intelligence. AI has worked with Uptake.org, and Uptake has helped them better track in Chicago where their emergency vehicles are and whether all of those emergency vehicles are functional so that they can more effectively deploy their resources. And the American Red Cross has also worked with Facebook to create information about evacuation routes and impending flooding areas so that, again, the Red Cross employees and volunteers are more able to more quickly be deployed. This is not a US example, but I love this. This is from the Australian Red Cross, and they've been very cutting edge in their use of technology. They use AI to really maximize the way that the 1.3 million blood donations that they get every year from 75 dispersed locations come in. But beyond that, they literally have a section of their website that is totally devoted to their work and how they're intersecting that work with technology, like blockchain, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And I love the fact that they're doing this. Here's another example of AI and impact. And this is an example from Amnesty International. And they worked with Element AI on this particular project. Amnesty International is very concerned about negative tweets about women. And so they created a project, a really crowdsourced project that's created this study that talks about how many women are being treated negatively in Twitter. And they found that every 30 seconds, a negative tweet comes out. And so through this crowdsourced project and creating what they call the Troll Patrol, they're able to communicate with social media companies and work to ensure that this kind of negative depiction and negative treatment is addressed both in policy and in practice. Another great impact area and company is Charity Water. Charity Water has also worked with impact.org, and what they do is help Charity Water better anticipate when there's going to be shortages in water in some of the wells and areas where they do provide water. And Charity Water's been working since 2006 to provide water to areas where there is no water in developing countries. So that's a very serious application. And they've also created this bot, and that's what this is a picture of. This is Yeshi, and she's someone who personifies Charity Water. And people can travel with Yeshi as she goes back and forth, taking almost all day to go to where there's water, to get the water, and then to bring it back home again. And this journey along the way is really interactive. I mean, it totally engages the people. It will first ask you where you are, and if you say, well, I'm in Kansas City, it will say, well, take a picture of where you are and load it up. And so it creates a dialogue with you and a really personal relationship while you really understand how hard this life is for Yeshi, and it really creates a bond with you and the mission. So I've talked a lot about the good things, but there are a lot of risks that go along with things like artificial intelligence. Certainly there's the risk of loss of jobs, and I talked about that briefly earlier. I tend to be a person who says that jobs will be lost, but more jobs will be gained, but I don't know. The jury is still kind of out on this. The Pew Research Institute created a big study, and in that study it said that 48% of people felt that a lot of jobs were going to be lost by 2025, and 52% believed that people were resilient and new jobs would be developed and new focuses created, new industries created. So, it's almost 50-50. There's a huge risk of biased or tainted algorithms. Again, these algorithms are created by people, and they could be used really against doing well, doing good, if there's biases built into them. And again, with a conference on equity, this is something that is really important. And so making sure that algorithms do not contain biases is incredibly important. There's concern about inappropriate use of these algorithms. Some people say, well, social service agencies will become dependent on the algorithms and they'll default to them rather than making decisions themselves. So really understanding when to use a computer and when to not use a computer is an important thing. Because of the buzz right now, a lot of people are getting into the business of AI. And with any kind of gold rush, there are going to be businesses that are not qualified. And really being able to sift through them and sort out who's for real and who's not is going to continue to be an issue, and probably increasingly so. And finally, governance issues. How is AI going to be governed on a global basis? That's a really big question. There's a lot of money and a lot of effort going into really understanding the potential of AI and addressing and assessing the risks. Since 2015, almost $600,000 from 15 companies and individuals has been invested to understanding more about AI applications in the nonprofit sector, and also really assessing the human risks. This is an example of one organization. It's the Partnership on AI, and it's an organization of 80 different companies, for-profit, nonprofit, academic institutions, research centers, and so forth, who are really looking at both applications and human impact. And then there are a whole lot of really specific organizations looking at just one aspect of AI. One of them is the Algorithmic Justice League, and they're looking at what I talked about earlier, making sure that algorithms do not contain biases. So finally, how do you get started? Because this is a mind-boggling array of stuff, right? It's hard to know what to do. And so I have just a few simple thoughts for you. The first is you have to start with the basics, the data, and you have to know what data that you have. Again, AI runs on data, so it's very important to have data and have good data because, of course, garbage in, garbage out. And so having that data and having it in one platform is also a very, very good idea. It's important to be goal-oriented and think about your mission. And also don't think about, gee, we need to change everything, or think of all the things AI could do. Think about one thing. If you could better accomplish your mission, what would that look like? And is that something that AI could help with? Think about people, because it's not about the processes, it's not about the algorithms, it's about the people. In the nonprofit sector, we're really a lot about people. And we're about our employees, and we're about the people that we serve. And what could we do to better serve the people that we help? And how could AI possibly help them better? And how could it serve our employees better? And if all else fails, start really tactical. Start exploring fundraising, because I really believe that here there is a lot more technology that's easy and ready to use than in some of these other areas. And so this takes us back to the beginning. I hope that today we've talked a little bit about what artificial intelligence is, how nonprofits are using AI today, and how you can get started. I'm going to close with some words of wisdom from the director of the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy, and I'm going to read them. He has said, AI and related technologies have already achieved superhuman performance in many areas, and there is little doubt that their capabilities will improve, probably very significantly, by 2030. I think it's more likely than not that we will use this power to make the world a better place. That said, AI can also be used to increasingly concentrate wealth and power, leaving many people behind. Neither outcome is inevitable. So the right question is not, what will happen, but what will we choose to do? And with that, I will say, you. Thank you very much, and goodbye.